When I talk to contractors, many ask me the same question. How do I grow my company the right way? To me, there are only two answers to that question. You have to master organic marketing, and the second way is mastering acquisition. Mastering organic marketing means you are so good at the right messaging and having it delivered through the right marketing vehicles that you create more demand for your work than you can humanly do in a day. Now that may seem stressful, but that's what your goal is, way more calls than you can humanly do in a day. And that allows you to grow your team, grow your company, get yourself out of the truck if you're still in there. Those are one of the big things for it. One attribute of great organic marketing people is they've figured out on their own or with really good marketing outsources, people that do this stuff, how to make the phone ring off the hook, which is they have allowed the owner to hang up their tool belt and begin to focus on what it takes to run a successful growing business. The other way is mastering acquisition. And that means you've learned how to buy someone else's company and acquire their customers and the goodwill, and sometimes their assets like trucks or inventory or even their building. Great acquisition players know that acquisition can and often does happen in many ways and in many forms. My focus here is on acquisition as the best way to buy your way to growth, building your way to growth. A little history here. My family business was started in a beach resort part of New York City called the Rockaways. Yes, there was actually a beach. And it's hard to believe there was 8 miles of this sand, but all of it and the boardwalk went down during urban troubles. The bad news is our hometown and service area was destroyed. And urban renewal and the customers fled out to different neighborhoods. And if not for my dad and my uncle, who preceded us, my uncle being my dad's partner, acquiring companies was the only way that they could go and replace these customers or chase to where they had gone to. There would not have been a business by the time my brothers and I had shown up if they had not done that. But here's what a tricky thing is. My dad and uncle came to find out that acquisition, even though they had started out of desperation, was actually the best way for them to go and grow they did. Here's why. Number one, instead of spending money on advertising or marketing with only the hope of getting the phone to ring and for someone to actually buy from whatever they had heard, they were actually acquiring customers who were trained to call them. Number two is they saved a ton of overhead expense by shutting down the acquired company and getting rid of the duplicate costs, so once they pushed it all under their own roof, they could make more money with those sales than the other company ever could. Number three is they found that they could actually get experienced help for many of the areas and spots that were vacant at the company as they were going to grow. It added numerical depth at each and many of those positions on the org chart. Number five, sometimes it just provided a skill set or a trade that they hadn't done that they could add on to their business, so they would have another fishing hook, if you will, in the pond. So how do you buy someone else's company? The first step to be able to do acquisition in the best way is to make sure you have systems in place. Make sure you have those systems in place so that you can grow as fast as you want. But if you don't have systems, you can't bring on new staff and you can't get them working the way that your company works. It's going to be a whole lot harder. So you need to start today putting the systems in place that can allow for this kind of explosive growth. If you already have systems and they're repeatable, you're ready for acquisition. And acquisition is the best viewed as if it's a spectrum. That spectrum goes from mild to wild. So here's what I mean by going up in size of the company that you're looking to acquire. Number one, you could acquire inactive phone numbers. That just means contractors who went out of business but never disconnected the phone, and get those abandoned phone numbers to ring at your office. Number two is you can offer to buy that phone number from a contractor who is looking to go out of business and closing the doors for one low flat rate price and get that to ring in your office. Number three, you can offer what Ellen Rohr, my fellow business consultant and franchise partner, call mailbox money. And she named it that because It was designed primarily for when you acquire an owner-operator type company or a very small company. They stay at home, and when that call converts at your shop into a sale, they get a percentage of that, which is when they go to their mailbox, they find a check. So you offer to pay this a percentage that they get to do. Number 4, you can offer what I call a hybrid mailbox money, which is you offer to get their phone to ring at your office, pay them a small upfront fee for that, and a percentage of the call when it closes with a set time frame, typically over 1 year. You can offer what I call a balloon mailbox money, which is you offer to get their phone to ring at your office, and you pay them a small upfront fee, that and a percentage of the call when it closes with a bump at the end if the sales exceed whatever you both agree to in that time frame. So a minimal annual sales that you picked at, if they go over it, that would be their balloon. You can buy a company outright. You can shut their office down, put it all under your roof. You typically pay them a percentage of gross sales. It's over 3 to 5 years. Nobody's coming with a suitcase full of money, everything at the beginning. And let them keep their assets. You acquire the phone, the customer list. The staff can apply for a position with your company, but without a guarantee of employment. Number 7 is you can buy a company outright and operate their location in one of 3 ways. With a lease and the first right of refusal to buy, with an outright purchase of property and building. You'll pay them a percentage of gross sales, again, over 3 to 5 years. Also keep the assets, this time acquiring their customer list. It might have a non-compete tied to it for some employment by the owner particularly, for a specified period of time with the company, but without a guarantee of long-term employment. I'll share that many of the successful contractors I've worked for originally worked at the company that they ended up owning. So typically like an acquisition, if you will. Normally it was because the prior owner had no one in their family who wanted to run it, or the owner felt that there was nobody any good who could come in and run this company, so they'd have to step back and rescue it after it was destroyed. Here's the great thing, is when it's done right, it is designed to be a win-win for everyone. Hey, you might be thinking, I'm not buying a company in these troubled times. The fact is, now is the best time to acquire a company because there are plenty of companies who would have said, I'm not interested, not that long ago, and I'm talking months ago. Will be looking now to sell, or they just may have to go out of business with nothing. My personal favorite, depending on the size of the company that you would look to purchase, is some type of mailbox money type acquisition, if you can.